Okay, so today we are diving into a really fascinating idea. It's a proposal for something totally new, a fourth class of capital, one that's designed from the ground up to fund our most important institutions, well, forever. It's called Perpetual Social Capital, and it all starts with a question I think we've all wondered about.
Right? I mean, think about it. These are the places that form the very bedrock of our society. Yet so often they seem to be living on the edge, just constantly scrambling from one funding cycle to the next. What if the problem isn't them? What if the problem is the financial tools we've given them to work with?
The paper we're looking at today gives this a name. It calls it a structural financial paradox. And what that means is the things we need most for our society to thrive are the least compatible with the way our financial systems are built. And that mismatch, that's the real heart of the problem.
So, what are these flawed tools? Well, when you boil it all down, there are really only three options on the table for these organizations. They're the usual suspects. And as we're about to see, none of them are really a great fit for groups that are dedicated to the public good. Okay, so first up, you've got debt. This just makes organizations fragile, right? It adds liabilities, it adds interest payments. Then there's equity, but you can't sell ownership in a nonprofit, so that's off the table. And finally, you have grants. Grants are absolutely vital, of course, but they're a one-time shot of cash. Once that money's spent, it is gone for good. Let's just zero in on the two most common ones for a second. Debt, over the long haul, fundamentally weakens an institution's balance sheet. Grants, on the other hand, have a different problem. They literally consume the principal. The original capital is spent, so it can never be used again, and it certainly can't grow or compound. This is the trap. This is the paradox. So, if the old tools are broken, maybe we need a new one. And this is where the paper introduces its big idea, its breakthrough. It's a whole new financial architecture designed specifically to solve this exact problem. It's called Perpetual Social Capital. So what on earth is it? Well, the formal definition is really important here. Perpetual Social Capital, we'll call it PSC, is capital that has zero interest, it doesn't count as a liability, and it has a soft expectation of being repaid. But here's the absolute game changer. Any of that principal that gets returned is recycled back into the system to be used again, and again, and again, indefinitely. Let's just break that down into four core ideas that make it tick. 1, zero interest. 2, it's not a liability, it actually strengthens the balance sheet as an asset. 3, it's perpetually recycled, the money keeps coming back. And 4, all of this creates a regenerative structure, which allows that social value to just compound over time. Now, this diagram here really makes it click. It shows you the whole life cycle. So a donor puts in the initial capital. The organization, let's say it's a hospital, uses that money to create value. Maybe they buy a new MRI machine. Then, as that machine brings in revenue, the hospital pays back some of that principal. But, and here's the magic, that money doesn't just vanish. It goes right back into the pool to fund the next project. It's this beautiful, powerful, self-sustaining loop. Okay, so that all sounds pretty great in theory, but does it actually work in the real world? Well, the paper runs a 30-year simulation to see how PSC stacks up against the old models. And this is where you really see the mind-blowing power of this regenerative, compounding approach.
And this chart just illustrates the difference perfectly. See that dotted line way down at the bottom? That's a one-time grant. It creates value once, and then poof, it's done. But that blue line, that's PSC. Because the capital gets recycled, that same initial donation gets put to work over and over and over again. And the yellow line? That's the total benefit, which just keeps climbing skyward.
Now let's compare it to a loan. The red dotted line shows a typical loan system. It might fund, say, 3 cycles before it hits its borrowing limit and has to stop. But the green PSC line, it just keeps on going. It totally bypasses those borrowing caps, and over 30 years, it ends up deploying almost twice the capital, all without adding a single penny of debt to the balance sheet.
Now, to measure all this, the paper comes up with a really clever metric. It's called the System Value Multiplier, or SVM. It's a simple but powerful way to compare these different systems. It just asks, for every $1 you put in at the start, how many dollars of total value do you get out over a certain period? It lets us compare apples to apples. So what is the system value multiplier for perpetual social capital over 30 years? Well, get ready for this. It's somewhere between 8.5 and 51 times the initial investment. I mean, we're not talking about a small improvement here. This is a completely different order of magnitude of impact.
This bar chart really puts it all into perspective. Look at this. Over 30 years, that grant gets you a 1.7x return. The debt-based system in this simulation does pretty well. It gets you about 19x. But PSC can deliver up to 51 times the initial value. The main takeaway here is pretty clear. It's not even close.
So you can see this is about way more than just a better way to fund a local community center. This is a vision for completely reshaping our entire approach to public finance, to philanthropy. It's a fundamental shift in how we even think about what capital is and what it can do.
For the institutions themselves, PSC could build a foundation of real financial resilience. It strengthens their balance sheets. It lets them plan for the long term instead of just scrambling for the next grant. And it makes them way less vulnerable when the economy gets rocky because there are no crushing debt payments to worry about. And for philanthropy, the change is just as huge. It could transform the very act of giving from a one-shot gift into a perpetual engine for good. A donor's capital isn't just spent and consumed, it's preserved. It gets multiplied, creating this permanent regenerative force that could keep working for generations to come.
I absolutely love this quote from the paper because it just nails the core idea. PSC is not a financing product, it is a temporal capital governance architecture. It's not just another option like a loan or a bond. It is a whole new blueprint for how we manage and govern capital over time. It's a new way of thinking.
And that really leaves us with one final powerful question to think about. What if we could actually build a future where our hospitals, our schools, our research labs, the very things that hold our society together, what if they were funded by capital that never, ever runs out? That is the incredible promise of perpetual social capital.